Oh, they'll be calling you radical. I call that home run Jesus. And so I want to get these done. I've got 10,000 in this fucking town, literally. So this is important. It's the worst air quality in the fucking world. Right here, right now, is Ogden, Utah is taking on this near beer, fucking bad, worn out Los Angeles fucking AstroTurf art scene. And cliche when this town is in total urban decay. Look at this. Worst air quality in the world. Let's play pretend. You know, so I want to show you this masterpiece. One of the true great architectural, it's a fucking gem. So the Mormon church had hundreds of them all over the Wasatch, just like this. This is a masterpiece. So when I was a young plasterer, I was the first licensed plasterer in like 20 years in the 80s during the Reagan recession. And the Mormon church found me. And so I did lots and lots of work for them. Lots of work. And so I grew up, I went to church in this church as a boy. This is the only one they saved of this period. And it is a masterpiece. I mean, it's truly. They tore the rest of them all down. I remember asking the architect that I worked for, I mean, because I knew how to do horsehair plaster. You know, I still used the animal blood, the whole works. And so I did all the repair on so many. I did the Barnes house before they recovered it in Kaysville. And they recovered it with fake. That's a travesty what they did to that house. This is a masterpiece. They all look like this, lots of them. Mormon Church is the only one they went all in on. Ours in West Weber, the West Weber church, God, that thing was grand. They tore it down. My dad tore it down. You know, he was hired to tear it down. And my grandpa, I remember my grandpa, Abraham Hunsaker IV, when those guys were tearing down the old Weber High, the Leslie Hodson masterpiece right around the corner. My grandpa warned him. He says, "You go bankrupt. That's a tragedy. They're tearing that down." It bankrupted 2 companies. The wrecking ball was bouncing off the. Well, so we grew up all playing church basketball. I played a lot of church basketball in here. This is Ogden 4th. You know, you didn't want to play at the 16th Ward, did you? Oh, 16th Ward. That's where we played a lot. You'd be getting 10 fights there. That's West Ogden. So it's important because this is the worst air quality in the in the world. SM-Ogden. So I asked him, why did you tear all these down in 1970 and these masterpieces? And they built these cinder block. They're the cheapest, junkiest things in the world. The West Weber one, my name's in that time capsule. In 1970 they did that. 1970, 71, 70. They're cinder block junkers. And I'm like, well, why did you do that? And you know what he told me? Well, somebody in the hierarchy, it was Edward Taft Benson, I can tell you that right now. That dude flipped the Mormon church on. They were socialists. My grandpa was Abraham Hunsaker IV himself. Yeah, the people that found the stole the Sutter's Mill, the Hunsaker Mill, Brigham City, the experiment in pure 100% communism. That's my grandpa. Fucking the great Mormon socialist. Without him, the first, he had all girls. There is no fourth. The Delia Myra Tracy, this was her church, my grandma. What a masterpiece. But the only one, he says, well, somebody at the top had a revelation that the end was very, very near. So we really didn't put a lot of weight into him. I said, bullshit. I told him straight up, that's a lie. Edward Taft Benson destroyed the Mormon church, flipped them on their head. I listened to David O. McKay when I was a kid speaking here, right there, sitting next to my grandma. She was really close friends with him. My auntie is May Blanch. They're going to name the English department BYU after, Fawn McKay's friend. Bernard DeVoto grew up right down the road there. He was dead before I was born, but I sure knew Fawn really well. I loved her. Freaking loved her. My Auntie May, that's her maiden name too. She never got married. So I want to get it alive. So I did a lot of the restoration in there in the day. They put so much money into this thing. It's a masterpiece. So I call it Home Run Jesus. So they're playing, you know, the Raptors down there, which is a secret gem in Ogden. That baseball park is the grandest of the grand. Well, you know, the Lindquist, Bill, which are Eccles, which are Brownings. I'll never forget the Eccles fan. I knew Mariner personally. He would roll over in his fucking grave what they've done to the Fed. That's his building right there. Wells Fargo's empty. The whole town's empty. It's in Art Deco decay. Well, it's not even, strike that, it's not an Art Deco. It's in horrible urban decay. And they're all playing pretend. See, we got somewhere we can prop this up. And I want to get it in front of the crane. God, the crane, looks like they're working on the Angel Moroni. Yeah, that crane's right on them. Wonder what they're doing. Interesting. In the worst air quality in the fucking world. Let's play pretend. Let's play too. I want to get a mess of these. That is a masterpiece. Oh, God, I love that building. That building isn't. I have 10,000 of these. 10,000 on the Wasatch here. Mostly all of them in Davis and Weaver County. 10,000. 10,000. The artisan. All cement. All traditional. Glass and plaster. I restored the Penman Mansion. The Penman house. Well, not mansion. The house. I restored that. It's on my video. Yeah. Utah Construction. So when they built this originally and started the restoration originally on this one and the West Weaver originally, way before I was born, that was them. That was Bob Penman, my neighbor. God, he was a gem. I love that guy. When the Depression hit here and all the Victorians were in crumbles, whatever, he went around and paid everybody's taxes so the feds wouldn't take it. They were Deseret here. They were flag burners. They were flag burners. Right around the corner, I was working on a house, doing interior, and the contractor was stripping out the walls. This is in the 90s, early 90s. He found a canvas bag in the wall right over here. The bottom was out, so he dug down to the bottom and he found a group of coins right here. I think it was right on 21st or 22nd. I got so many of them. There's a Mormon $20 gold piece in there. He sold it at auction. I think that was '93 for $1 million. They had their own thing. My twin sister worked right there. Karen, she's so good looking, beautiful. She's at the hospital now. I'm gonna go talk to her right now. She works there. She worked at the ZCMI right there. God, that food. Oh my God, that candy counter. Oh. They were communists. Their banking, their food. My grandpa ran the welfare. Both grandpas. My grandpa, Leonard Blanch. I mean, we all did it for free. And my other grandpa, Abraham Hunsaker, the Hunsaker Mill. I grew up as a Mormon socialist. I still am. I still am a Mormon socialist. I still am. I want to get as many of these as I can, documenting history. I remember I used to say all the time, the Mormon architecture guy told me one day, he says, this is when I was young, he says, you are a master like I've never seen. Don Hall talked me into staying in this business. I want to show you this green tile that's on this roof. This is important because the last video I did. So you see this green and red and blue tile all over Ogden, Brigham City, Utah. That's my grandpa's pit. He sold that to Jack Parsons in 1968 for $7 million. Al and him. Jack Jr. just died. Yeah, so Ned ran the pit down there in Weber. I was really good friends with Ned Parsons. I love that guy. Hard working. My grandpa and Jack. When my grandpa Hunsaker Abe died, Jack made him this pin. I have it. I wear it to all the funerals on my Austrian funeral jacket. And it's made of gold. Has a piece of plutonium in the shovel. My grandma gave it to me. So that tile was made in those pits in Brigham City. We used to just make it there when I was a boy. No kiln. They're adobe. They're all over, including on my mom's house. So the sand is so white, so pure, and so clean. I have scars up and down all over my body from using it. So the Fife down there on wall, I'll do a piece down there on the Fife pit. She was the last Mrs. Fife. She was the last union shop on concrete. Z.P. Smith, remember when he did all the concrete things? That's my uncle. He was married to my Aunt Beverly, who used to go to church in this church. God, she was a piece. Z.P., God, he was a piece of work, man. Love that guy. Them kids of his. Whoa, whoa. So I wanted to get this. Oh, they moved the crane while I was shooting the film. Kevin Blanch, virtual publish. Jackson Pollock, the dripper. Kevin Blanch, the soup can flipper. Deseret. I grew up in Deseret. I literally did. Oh my God, if you only knew. Woo! That's so fucking wild. Oh my God. You read East of Eden? The bad son? Oh. Which was the good son? That's me. I made a lot of scores in that cattle future pit. Fucking Leslie Hodson masterpiece in the old exchange building. I did a lot of work on that building too. Nobody's protected and fought for Leslie Hodson, an architect, harder in this town than Kevin Blanch. No one. What a masterpiece. Stand tuned.